I was gonna rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat your children. Praise be to Allah.
Mike Tyson, probably the most famous boxer ever alongside the greats such as Muhammed Ali, became a household name for smashing heads, biting ears and becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. In this video, we're going to look inside the mind of Mike Tyson and look more deeply into his bipolar diagnosis. If you don't know me already, my name is Matthew Fayisa and I'm a medical student from London interested in sports medicine. Usually we make videos on mechanical injuries that happen to the body. However, with the Mike Tyson fight coming up, his comeback, we're going to look more into his mental diagnosis, which is something we've covered briefly on our channel before. Before we continue, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers that have come recently, and we're nearly at 500 subscribers, so let's push it and let's get there. So firstly, let's discuss what bipolar is. Bipolar disorder is a mental health condition that affects your mood. It causes someone's mood to swing extremely from one side to the other and used to be known as manic depression. What this broad definition is describing is the swing from a highly enlightened, enjoyable, and some consider fun mood of being manic, all the way to the other side to a more equal or even greater depressed, sad and unenjoyable situation for a person. Stay tuned as we're going to run through a few examples in Mike Tyson's life and see if they apply to this theory or perhaps are examples of him illustrating bipolar behavior. The exact cause of bipolar disorder is unknown and much debated in science. However, right now the evidence does suggest that mostly it's associated with chemical imbalance in the brain and some sort of genetic association. However, there are triggers in life which can indicate or cause someone to enter a bipolar phase, such as financial instability, family abuse, sexual abuse, and also deaths to close friends and relatives. In an old interview with Oprah, Mike Tyson brought up that he was sexually abused by a stranger on the street and also had an unstable family dynamic. I'm going to put up a table on the side of the symptoms associated with bipolar disorder. But what I want to stress clearly is that for every enjoyable manic phase, there's an equal depressive sad phase. This may sometimes be discussed as a personality disorder. In my teaching from various consultants, they say that this is quite a lazy diagnosis, as a personality disorder really doesn't mean anything and only says something is altered. Regarding Mike Tyson's behaviour, there are a few interviews in addition to the Oprah interview I mentioned earlier that do provide some interesting points of discussion. One of the most recent examples was a Joe Rogan interview he did, where he discussed that when he used to train and when he used to box, he was almost a different person and unlocking a beast from within. This may be a stretch, but it is an example perhaps of something called grandiose delusions. Grandiose delusions are a symptom or part of a bipolar disorder, particularly in the manic phase, where someone believes that they are better than everyone else, they are a superior being and almost godlike. With Mike Tyson and mostly other athletes, it is a very interesting point of discussion as it does not really compare to someone in the general population. Mike Tyson, as we know, was champion of the world, so he was on top of the world at one point. So some could argue that these grandiose beliefs or delusions are not in fact delusions and are in fact a reality. However, what the most interesting part of this interview for me was that he mentioned that he never trained or boxed after his retirement. He said something along the lines of that he didn't want to awaken that person that was before, and he didn't like being in that state. He also roughly said, if I remember correctly, that he was almost happier or more content with staying in a lesser state, even though he knew he wasn't the person he used to be. For me, this does resemble depression, particularly in a bipolar disorder or even in isolation. Depression is very common in athletes particularly, as like Tyson, all athletes are somewhat famous, somewhat living extraordinary lives, and when they retire, they start living normal lives. For more information on that, click the first link in the description where I speak more specifically about the mental health conditions athletes can face. Some clearer examples, however, of Mike Tyson's erratic behavior would be his wild purchases, buying 2 Bengal tigers and spending $2 million on a bathtub. Ultimately, it's not our decision or our right to look at how someone spends their money. However, looking at it from a mental health point of view, we have the right to kind of raise an eyebrow. This is a clear example of irresponsible financial management, as in 2003 he owed $400 million in taxes and also owed $51,000 in child support. Due to not being able to keep up with these payments, as a result Mike Tyson actually had to declare bankruptcy. Another example, or probably the biggest example of manic behavior or irrational behavior, would be when he decided to get a warrior tattoo on the side of his face just before his fight with Clifford Etienne. As I said earlier, bipolar disorder is characterized by rapid changes in mood and state. One good example in the ring was probably the most famous incident involving Mike Tyson. After being upset that he was headbutted by Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson decided to take it upon himself to bite the ear off of Holyfield. Tyson mentioned that after he got headbutted, he saw red and he almost couldn't control himself. These actions are, yes, associated with someone in an aggressive, violent state, as you are with a boxer, but the action to kind of go beyond the rules and bite someone's ear off could be argued as a manic symptom. Watching a few of his interviews in preparation for this video, it does seem that boxing was his way out. After retiring, and even most recently, Mike Tyson has had some altercations with other celebrities and other stars, most famously probably with Kanye West, where he told him to shut up and take his meds. Regarding medication, there's always ever-changing and different perspectives on what's best for a patient. However, I'm going to follow the NICE guidelines and give you some insight into what bipolar disorder would be treated with. Clinicians may use something called antipsychotics such as haloperidol. These types of medication aim to stabilize the person in a consistent state, preventing large swings. However, the disadvantage of this is patients are put in an unenjoyable state of mind which contrasts the highly enlightened, the fun, the enjoyable side of manic. Any questions or comments that you want to discuss, please feel free to say it in the comments. I'm sure there's someone that knows a lot more about bipolar disorder and mental health than me. Just try to give you a quick summary of what I think about it. As I mentioned earlier, please can you like the video and subscribe to the channel and join our ever-growing community and make sure you don't miss any new videos that are coming up. Apart from that, in the meantime, see the links in the description to a few videos that are quite interesting and follow one from this, and I'll see you guys next time.